for joining us for this week's PTN Extra. Alyssa Orange alongside Mike Irwin. The rest of our crew at SEC Media Days. Arkansas gets to go tomorrow, but Courtney, Evan, and Jacob having a blast down there so far in Dallas. And we're going to talk about things that have been said already. But first and foremost, you had a birthday yesterday.
I did.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. Did you have fun?
It was real low key.
Okay.
Like, I've never been big on birthdays. I like going to birthday parties, just not my own. But as an adult, I've been lucky, especially as I've gotten older, because I have a son, a grandson, and a daughter-in-law that all have birthdays within a few days of mine. So we all have one big birthday, and then it's not just to focus on me, it's like 4 people.
Yeah, there are people who don't really like to celebrate birthdays. There are people who celebrate all week long. Like, I love birthdays.
Right.
I love having a birthday. I think it's just really fun to celebrate another year of life. So, I'm glad that you had a good birthday.
It was good.
Good. Did you watch any SEC Media Days at home?
A little bit. What I see is mostly Feinbaum talking to people. They don't show enough of the guys actually in front of the media. I'd like to see more of that, but.
Has anything stuck out to you?
Yeah, Drinkwitz just blew me away because he's always been this little snotty, smart aleck guy. And I finally stopped talking about him because I realized that I was trying to convince people, Missouri's not a rival, don't worry about them. And then all I was doing was talking about him. So I was, okay, I'm just going to stop talking about the guy. But he was very different, at least when he was talking to Paul Feinbaum. And I think I saw a little clip of his regular appearance before the rest of the media. And he did explain it. He said, when you are the hunter, which I guess is what he saw them as when he first got there, he said, you got to try and annoy the competition because you want to get under their skin. But when you are the hunted, which I guess he thinks they are now, in other words, they're one of the elite, then you have to be low-key and don't do anything to make people mad at you and all this stuff. It'll be interesting to see if that holds up.
Eli Drinkwitz considering Missouri the hunted now. Is that a bold statement when you're in the SEC East?
They were very good last year, and on paper they look good again, so maybe.
Okay.
Here's the problem again for them and for Ole Miss. I think the problem both those schools are going to have is rat poison, what Nick Saban calls rat poison. Everybody's talked about how good they're going to be for almost a year now, 7 or 8 months anyway. And Drinkwitz acknowledged that. That's an issue. You have to, as a coach, deal with that, your players hearing that stuff to the point where they start thinking it just happens automatically.
I love how you bring up Nick Saban because he is now on the other side of things at SEC Media Days, being an analyst and a commentator, and he's been the funniest one out there.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have a team to worry about, or he doesn't have to really keep things close to the vest. He can say a little bit what he wants, and Nick Saban has always been able to say what he wants. But that's something that stuck out to a lot of people, is that it feels like maybe things are dry. There hasn't been we would go and Steve Spurrier was bound to say something, right? We got borderline erotic from Brett Bielema. There's bound to have been something funny said, something, edgy said, and we really haven't had that the first couple of days.
Well, Texas is on this afternoon, I think, so maybe something will come out of that. But you're right, it's been fairly low key. Saban is hilarious. At one point he talked about all of these predictions, and I've always thought predictions at Media Day are ridiculous because they're always wrong. I don't know why the media is not embarrassed by how bad they are at picking these teams. But I think at one point he referred to them a bunch of guys in their underwear making predictions. I don't know what. I assume they're all wearing underwear.
Tell us how you really feel, Nick.
Yeah.
Let us know. Let us know how you really feel.
And then he talked to Feinbaum about, I guess at some point, he tried to show him the various aspects of being a cornerback. And Feinbaum said, you failed. And he said, well, as a coach, I always accepted responsibility and didn't blame my players. I blame myself if they failed. So yes, I failed you. But he didn't have much to work with.
Yeah, exactly. Someone that has had a lot of praise and their program has had a lot of praise is Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And it's funny because I sent a text to one of our teammates and just said, they're going to jinx them if they keep talking about Ole Miss the way they're talking about Ole Miss. Jordan Rogers said that Jackson Dart is his leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy right now. Ole Miss has so much going for them on paper with what Lane has been able to do from recruiting and bringing in the transfers. Is it almost Is it almost too good to be true?
Well, they're doing it to themselves because they're almost a day doesn't go by that they don't self-promote themselves on Twitter. Something they've done. We got this guy back when they were still doing the portal thing. We got this out. We've done this. We've done that. Their own fans have gotten on there and done a lot of this. And so, yeah, the expectations are just. And Feinbaum said this a couple of weeks ago. He said, if the way it's going with them, if they don't get into the playoffs, which is not an easy thing to do, even with this new playoff, you might get 3 SEC teams in instead of 2. But if they don't get into the playoffs, this season for Ole Miss is a failure. Wasn't what they wanted. It's a failure, and I would agree with this because that's what these kind of expectations do for you.
Yeah. Do you think Jackson Dart's the best quarterback in the league right now?
I don't know who the best quarterback is. You know, that's the whole point. People get mad at me sometimes because I'm reluctant to say the best this, who's that. It's because college football, one of the things that makes it so good is it's so unpredictable. So you sit here in the middle of the summer and you start saying this team's going to do that and this player is going to be really good and all this stuff. You don't have a clue. Nobody does.
I mean, I think you make really good points there. I mean, there was that year when Spencer Rattler transferred from Oklahoma to South Carolina, and everyone was like, this kid is going to be great. And quite frankly, his South Carolina career was very lackluster.
It was.
And so that can happen where you come in with such high expectations and then you don't live up to the expectations because you were so highly touted where you came from. We have no idea what Talon Green is going to do in a Razorback uniform still.
The one thing he's got going for him is he's flying under the radar. They all are. That's good. The problem with Dart and that whole Ole Miss team is they got a target on their chest. And they didn't, maybe a little bit of that last year, but they still were just Ole Miss last year, a good version of Ole Miss. Now they're supposed to be Alabama-like, Georgia-like, because they've recruited well. That just changes everything. It changes the way teams prepare for you. It changes the way they go after you as a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Talon Green is going to do, but I do think he will slip up on some people for a while. Maybe midway through the season they'll think, oh yeah, this guy's pretty good. But right now I don't think he's on their radar screen.
He's flying under the radar right now, but not tomorrow because Arkansas goes on Thursday. And he's a guy that gets to go in front of the media and talk about things. We've said this a couple times now over the past couple weeks that Arkansas's got to put their best foot forward tomorrow. So how excited are you? Look, we don't have to really dig into the weeds because we've said it, but I'm excited to see what they do tomorrow.
Here's what they have to do. I don't think they're going to impress the rest of the SEC. I think they've already made up their mind about Arkansas. If I'm Hunter Yurachek, I don't think he told them this, but they can sell you tickets. You got to sell tickets. When you come off of a bad season like last year and you need money, you got to get as many season tickets sold as possible. You got to figure out some way to get that stadium full.
So you're saying they're addressing directly the fans at
yes,
SEC Media Days.
I think their appearance before Media Day should be aimed at Arkansas fans to let them know, hey, we're not what some of you think we are. We are better. I think they ought to specifically talk about all 3 of those players, and Sam Pittman should specifically talk about things that they've done to address problems from last year, starting with this attitude that so many of them had where they just kind of gave up.
Yeah.
You know, this chemistry issue everybody talks about.
I also thought it was really cool. We got to hear from guys at Georgia and Tennessee, and that's where Xavier Story came from, who's now at Arkansas as a linebacker, as well as Addison Nichols and Dinoco Slaughter. They transferred over from Tennessee, and when asked about it, their former teammates with nothing but great things to say. Not that they're going to bash them in front of the camera, but it felt real.
Yeah, this portal thing is just, it benefits all of them right now, and they know that. There's not one of these players that's not sitting there thinking, well, if I got a huge offer, I might go somewhere else. So I think they respect the portal because what it's doing for them, it's making them more money. So you got to accept the fact that some of your teammates are going to go somewhere else. And yeah, they were all very complimentary, and it would be really dumb not to be, to be honest.
Of course, yeah. All right, last but not least, asked about the horns down. And the director of officials said that unless it's taunting, this is not a penalty, which is not the approach that the Big 12 took. So
Right.
what do you think? You going to be walking around like this the whole week?
Well, sure. And the fans, I don't think that anything happens to the fans. The fans can
Of
talk.
course. I'm
They
just
can do
saying,
whatever they want.
Yes.
But let's say you're on the field and you're
Sure.
let's say you're I don't know. Let's say you're Oklahoma. I don't know. Does Oklahoma play? Yeah, they play them every year.
Yeah.
So you play Texas and you're a linebacker and you hit a guy hard and he's laid out. Okay, if you get up and stand over him and do the upside down hook 'em horns, you're going to get a penalty.
Yeah.
If you turn around and your teammates are celebrating and they're kind of surrounding you and you do it not over the guy, I think that's not a penalty.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly how they interpret their own roles. Also, too, Greg Sankey was asked about renewed rivalries, and he said a big reason why he wanted to bring Texas to the SEC was because the history that they had with Arkansas. And he mentioned all the games that they've played, and he mentioned 2021 and storming the field. And you've always had this thing where it's like the SEC shouldn't fine you for something that then they're going to sit here and act with such a cool thing. And he goes, well, that was a cool moment, though we don't do it often. But I thought about you immediately.
Well, that's phony baloney. It is on their part because they actually benefit from that. That year that Arkansas beat Auburn in Fayetteville when Auburn was #1 and you get fined. But that's all that SEC was talking about that week.
Yeah, they ran that court storming
exactly.
a million times.
It's good publicity for you, but then you're going to sit around and fine people for that? That is so hypocritical. But it's a big deal. And I'm telling you that Arkansas, the one negative from going into the SEC was they lost their only real rival. Now, understand this. That doesn't mean Texas feels the same way. They don't. But you don't have to. It doesn't have to be two-way. If your fans love to play them and love to beat them, and I think about all those times that Arkansas beat them in the Southwest Conference and times they've beaten them since.
Yeah.
Matt Jones down in Austin, the more recent 2021 game. This is going to be fun. Even you're not going to win all of them, but I think Arkansas will be fired up for every one of those games.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. Again, Arkansas goes tomorrow at SEC Media Day, so we will see what they say. But so far, informative, nothing crazy. You know, you don't got Steve Spurrier around anymore, so you're not getting crazy sound bites. But it is what it is. And so it's been the beginning of football season. That's always what this signifies. And so it means it's right around the corner, which we love to talk about. But that is going to do it for this week's PTN Extra. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Though you won't see me because I hop on an airplane on Sunday.
Right.
So
it'll be the
don't
rest
worry.
of us.
Don't worry, everybody.
I won't see you for a month.
I'm only in Paris for a month, but I'm back. I promise. We'll see you after that.